So, good evening. We're back again. This time it is a City preview. We've got two City fans on to beat me up this time.
Yeah.
How are you, lads?
Good man. Good man.
Good, all good.
Ready for it.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And to you.
And luckily we're not playing on Valentine's Day because we're not in the Champions League, so we don't have them luxuries of Valentine's Days, which means we can go out and enjoy the evening. I can't remember the last time we played on Valentine's.
Saving money, man. We're saving money. It's a smart move.
Exactly. That's the best way to be. Both the links for the lads are in the title, people. But obviously there is a lot of people in this chat. Make sure you fire the like buttons up, sub to both of them and to me. Second channel link for me is in the comments, pinned comment as well, so sub to that. But before we get into the game, let's talk about these. I know you're probably both bored of it. Let's talk about these charges real quick, because I've seen so much fallout and so many people just throwing the book at City. Yeah. And I don't think many people quite understand. I mean, everyone on this channel knows my thoughts on it. I did that the other day. But Lewis, let me come to you first. Where does City go from here? Because they've obviously been through UEFA, had the book thrown at them last time, got over that one. And I think people just see the 100-odd charges and that's it. City are guilty. But when you actually dissect it and look into it, it's a lot more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, but Lee, people don't do that, man. People are sheep, innit? You know what I mean? People are sheep, and that's the problem, unfortunately. People can't be asked to read their own, do their own investigation, and it doesn't take long. You know what I mean? You got to have a look. First of all, you go back to FFP, yeah? That rule is anti-competitive. Yeah, it makes the league anti-competitive. It makes football anti-competitive. It keeps the big teams at the top of the table, right? And as a City fan, you know what I mean? We've managed to sort of get in there just before it sort of fully kicked in. But if you support a team that's not a big team, and I'm not doing the whole fan shit, you know what I mean? City out a big club. I'm talking like getting the money in, right? Then why would you support FFP? I see teams in like League One and the Championship hating on City and saying FFP do something. I'm like, are you guys for real? Don't you understand what this means? But unfortunately, the media is controlled by the big clubs. There's a lot of sheep out there who just follow the narrative and they can't think for themselves, which is a real shame because, you know, I'm all for clubs being bought. You know, I'm buzzing about Newcastle. Let's see what they can do. And then obviously the charges, again, people don't actually read, man. 30% of those 100 charges or whatever were to do with City not cooperating. So again, you know what I mean? Knock 30% of the charges off there. It sounds way worse than it actually is. Like, one charge, is repeated for 10 years. So again, it's like that's actually only one thing that they just say we've done for 10 years. So it sounds way worse than it is. Look, we beat Cass. You know what I mean? They looked into the Etihad deal and they said there was nothing wrong with that. Yet people always go on about no, you got away with it because it was time barred. Again, not true. There was some stuff that was time barred, but some of the stuff like the Etihad deal, which was a major issue, Cass proved that there was nothing wrong. Again, all you actually have to do here, guys, is read the fucking report. But unfortunately, people don't like doing that. People are sheep, man. And people just, see someone on Twitter with, 100,000 followers and go, oh, he said it, so it must be true. Yeah, how about opening your eyes and actually reading the thing, man?
Yeah, it's well said, mate. What about you, Hugh? Where are you with this, mate?
Yeah, listen, I echo absolutely everything Lewis said. I mean, we were told when FFP was proposed that it was coming in to save clubs from themselves, save clubs from doing such damage to themselves that they couldn't, sustain it and they'd go out of business. And they throw you examples like Bury and other clubs that have suffered massively from poor financial business. But there is also an element of truth to it that it was just to stop clubs like City, Newcastle, Chelsea dreaming of if you get a takeover. I mean, there's plenty of clubs down in the lower divisions would absolutely love a situation like ours, and it would give them an opportunity to dream. I saw a graphic up on Twitter the other day, which was if clubs never got a takeover and financial investment was completely restricted, the Premier League winners over the last 30 years would only be Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal. Is that a competitive league? Is that a good product that you want to sell to the rest of the world? Probably not. It's quite boring. And we laugh at farmers' leagues and say, well, that league's dominated by one or two teams. Our league would be dominated by one or two teams. But look, we are where we are as when it comes to FFP, we can't change that. We've allegedly broke such rules. But my thing is, like, I don't claim to be an absolute genius when it comes to legalities. I'm just a fan. I go to the matches. I give my thoughts on what I see in the pitch, and that's about it. But as fans, we're thrown into this position now where we have to talk about it. And I get that. But I try to be as fair, objective, and balanced as possible on that and read what I see and make my own decisions. But people seem to run with that and take it way too far. I've had people turning up on the Big Six wearing black shirts and ties telling me they're solicitors and they know more than me about what's going on. I had someone tell me last night, I had Grizz tell me last night that legal people said this, legal people said that. I said, who are the legal people? Like, what legal people are you talking about right now? Is it the guy in the black shirt and tie? Because he seems to know more than me. So many people have become £2 solicitors, Lee, Poundland solicitors, acting like they know the ins and outs of this case, when the reality is they don't. And they do show their true colours when they talk about that Cass case that Lewis referred to, saying, you got off on a time bar. You got off on a time bar. It's so easy to say that because you read it nonstop on Twitter. The media press release came out again. It resurfaced on Twitter the other day, and I learned from it. I read that we were actually exonerated of that Etihad Airways deal that we supposedly had disguised funds from. So I'm learning as I go along, but these people seem to know more than me from the off. So it's a messy situation, but I think as City fans, we're just trying to not lose our heads and just roll with the punches.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in football now talk about anything but football. Like even the pundits, it's
a shame,
just
isn't it?
jolly up in the studio with their mates these days. They don't really talk much about the game, the tactics, or anything like that. It's very diluted, the content that's out there on Sky Sports, BT Sport, other platforms as well. But then everyone online is an accountant these days, a statistician, a mathematician, and a lawyer.
It never used to be like this, though, did it, Lee? Never used to be like before FFP. Like people used to have
it was just go for a title every year. That's it.
But then FFP came in, and then it was like, oh, well, we'll talk about this now. And like no one, like you say, no one's talking about football, man. And that's the real shame. And if you actually,
who brought FFP in, didn't you? You know who was the biggest advocate, didn't you? Arsene Wenger. Shock.
Well, at the time, he wasn't. I don't know. There was always a thing like, does he have the money to spend, or does he just refuse to spend it? But yeah, I mean, it probably come from the teams at the top of the table, and I could sort of understand why. I mean, I'm not having a dig at these clubs. You know what I mean? Like, if I was the owner of Man United or the owner of Arsenal, and I seen a sheikh coming in buying a like a mid-level club, because I think the year before we finished like 10th. And then all of a sudden challenging for Champions League, I'd be going, whoa, you know what I mean? We need to. So I'm not having a dig at these guys, but I'm saying, as a fan, as a fan, you got to be sitting there saying that is not good. You want anyone in that league to be able to come in and do the business. You know what I mean? And I know it's difficult, you know, for fans of big clubs to accept that, because they want to see their clubs be successful every season. But if you're a true football fan, then you should look at FFP and say, get in the bin, man, because it ain't good for football, in my opinion.
Me and Rance did a show last week, and we looked at Brighton as a case study. Their income's 151 million a year. So if they can only spend 75% of that, how are they ever going to break into the top four? Like, if their owner's worth 1.3 billion. So if he wants to put 300, 400, 500 million in, why can't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
there ain't no issue.
And this is where I have an issue with the league, because they let the Glazers walk into this league, buy Man United, and then strip 2 billion quid out of the football club, and that's cool. That's fine. Yeah, our owners don't put any money in. Liverpool, Tottenham, they don't put any money in. It's all profit every year. And then when you've got somebody that actually does want to spend his own money, they put all these little restrictions in place. And it's almost like they don't want anyone breaking into that elite Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool. You know, Newcastle will probably have this in 5, 6, 7 years' time, because they don't like it. And when the league first founded, the Premier League, the big 5 clubs back then were Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, and Everton. Yeah, take Everton out and put Chelsea in there now. And they kind of let that one slide with Abramovich, although they did try to sanction him a few times. But now Man City have just come into the league with this money, yeah, and just made a mockery of that big 5. Yeah, because they can't win everything every year. I think Pep's won 9 trophies himself.
Yeah, but another thing that I would say, though, you know, whilst the money is important, it's not the be all and end all. People say, "Oh, Man City buy the league every year. That's the only reason we've won anything." Man United have spent £1 billion since Ferguson left. I seen a chart recently. I don't know if either of you two seen it on Twitter and Instagram, and I think that there was in 200 million over Man City over the last 10 years. I can't remember if they spent 200 million more, or we spent 200 million more, but 200 million pound over 10 years ain't really a lot. Everton have spent 500 million quid over the last few years. I know net spend is down, but they still spent £500 million. Chelsea, you know what I mean? They can't buy a win right now. They spent so do people who say, "Oh, it's money." It's not just, yeah, that's clearly a big issue. I'm not playing it down, but I'm saying you have to recruit well. You have to get the right managers in. You know what I mean? And then you have to hope that it all sort of gels together. So again, it's just a shame, man, that there's a lot of talk on football. It'd be great just to talk about the money, you know what I mean? But it'd be great just to be talking about football, but you can't, because when there's something like this is dominating the headlines, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to speak about it and have their say, even though they probably don't even know what's going on. It's just a bit of a shame, man.
And then if you do get offered these charges, all you're going to get labelled is, "Oh, they paid them. They paid them. They paid them to get off of them."
Brown bag every single time. It's we can't win in this situation. We win the case and we're off scot free. You're cheaters. You lose the case. You're cheaters. You got what you deserved. Like I think Lewis is absolutely spot on, and I think a lot of it stems and reeks of just jealousy. You talk about two clubs, City and United, who have both spent a huge amount of money in the last decade, but one club is clearly thriving far more than the other. I think Manchester United wish that the business that they had done came with the same results that we have got. I mean, I think you as an Arsenal fan, Lee, you would agree. You would absolutely love someone like Sheikh Mansour to come into your club, completely rejuvenate the club, brand new training ground, helps the community in East Manchester, new players, best manager, trophy after trophy. Of course, if you're a traditional established club and you've had it all your own way since you're alive and you're watching football and you consciously understand it, and then this beast comes along and just overtakes you, a shiny new car, looks far better than yours and is doing way better than yours ever could, of course you're going to be like, yeah, take them down, they're cheaters. Whatever way you can, just get rid of them, because that's not fair. I think a huge amount of it just reeks of absolute jealousy.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same with, Man United now got the Qatari bid potentially happening.
And they're twerking for that league. They're on their knees for Qatar to come in and do exactly what Sheikh Mansour has done.
And the funny thing is when Newcastle had the Saudis coming in, there were so many people saying, "Oh, yeah, the human rights side of it and all that." Do these people really have lives? Like, I would love a Saudi owner or a Qatari owner, or a sheikh to come and buy Arsenal, throw as much money in as possible, and go and win everything. Yeah. What is wrong with these people? Like, I've seen so many Man United fans, like most of them are on their knees ready, begging, bring him in, bring him in. But there's a lot of them that are saying, that's it, I'm not going to support the club anymore. It's like, what is wrong with these people, man? They're sitting there with an iPhone. Yeah, they don't care about human rights when they bought that, did they? They use Amazon every day. Like, sitting there in Adidas and Nike trainers talking about human rights. Like, the game's gone, man. It really has. Like, from when I was growing up in the 90s, it was literally the best footballers, none of this rubbish. Nobody cared about the money. Nobody was talking about FFP or, owners of clubs and all of that crap. Now, with social media that's come in and with Sky Sports just dramatizing every single story they can get, it's kind of destroyed it a little bit, man. It's not like it used to be growing up, But listen, without
what I say. My idea on this, Lee, and I've been saying this. I've been saying this for a decade, because I've covered this FFP shit for over 10 years. What I've said is, the FFP thing was a smoke screen. As you said, they put it through as like, this is going to help stop clubs getting bankrupt, when everyone knew from day one that's not what it was for, because if you only have to read the thing. I think what they should do, if you truly want to stop clubs from going bust, because in my opinion, that is 100% like something that you should get behind, because if you're a real football fan, even your closest rivals, you shouldn't really want them to go out, because that's that's low. I want utmost pain for Man United fans, but I don't want my mate across the road to not have a club to support. So if you really, really want to stop clubs from going bust and protect the clubs, what I've said is, he said, you've got a 5-year period, to get 1 year's worth of operating expenses in an escrow account sat there, and you've got 5 years to do it. So if you spend £300 million a year on everything, that's wages, everything that you could possibly spend on, in 5 years' time, you've got to have £300 million sat in an escrow account, which means no one can touch it. And if you don't have that money there, by the end of the 5 years, you get dot points. Because then if you get dot points as a fan, I can go, okay, we're getting dot points because my owners and my board have not properly protected my club by putting this money in the escrow account. Now, you've got to give them a period of time to do that. You can't say it's got to be in the escrow account next week, because clearly big clubs are not going to be able to get £300-400 million in an account within a couple of weeks or even a couple of years. You're going to have to give them 5 years. But then, I don't know about you, Lee, but if that came in and you knew that Arsenal had to have 350 million in an account in 5 years, so then if your owner suddenly didn't decide, I'm not backing this team anymore, you've got 1 year's worth of finance there to get you through a full year where you get a new owner, and they didn't do that, and your club got dot points. Surely, as a fan, you're going, you know what? Respect that, man, because we're getting dot points because my owners are not doing what they should be doing to protect my club from not going out of business. You got to give them 5 years. That's what I've said they should have done all along, man. I back the idea. I don't really see any sort of issues with it. You got to give them a period of time. You know, Chelsea are out there spending £70 million on Mudryk, who played a few games in the Ukrainian league. You can't tell me that they can't put £30-40 million a year for the next 5 years to protect that.
There's only two clubs in the Premier League that are not owned by billionaires. Brentford's owner's worth 30 million. I mean, that's a miracle how he's even got him in the Premier League. Yeah. And then Nottingham Forest's owner, I think, is worth about 600 million. Yeah, other than that, they're all billionaires. This is a great comment as well. Big up, Jerry. Lee is the type of person you can't trust. He has no type of morals or integrity. This man wouldn't mind if a criminal was running his club. Go and investigate Stan Kroenke, mate. Yeah, I think you'll find he's done quite a lot of shit he shouldn't have done, mate, including trophy hunting. Not the trophies on the pitch. Yeah, actual live animals, mate. Yeah, about a criminal running your club, mate. If you think every single billionaire on the planet has made their money legally, you're living in cuckoo land, my friend. But anyway, let's talk about some football rather than financial fair play, because obviously the chat's rattled. Let me come to you, Hugh. Obviously, Mikel Arteta was your assistant manager, second coach, whatever you want to call him. How have you seen his time at Arsenal? Because obviously, I'm really vocal on him. I still ain't really seeing it, if I'm honest. He don't really have a plan B. He's done very well this season. He's obviously got his top and overachieved with the squad that he's got. But when it all goes wrong, it goes wrong dramatically. But how have you seen him since he left City?
I've liked it. I've liked it from an outsider looking in, because with the Premier League and modern day football, we've been tuned and accustomed to demanding instant success. You know, you bring in a manager, you spend a couple $100 million over the course of a couple of transfer windows. He has to win trophies. He has to win them now. And if he loses his first couple of games, no, he's not good enough. Get him out. And that's essentially what you're seeing right now with Chelsea and Graham Potter. Yes, there is a certain expectation on them and anybody who spends big money to achieve, and to achieve it relatively quickly. But I'm also a firm believer in allowing your club and allowing your team and your manager to overcome adversities and learn and grow and develop their whole ethos and ideologies, and they become a unit. And I think that's what Arteta has done. It's taken a while. I mean, you know a lot more about the fallout after Arsene Wenger left and how long it took the club and the team to get back to where they are and where you feel you rightfully should be. But what Arteta has done is a process, and people seem to be afraid of the word process. You know, with Man United sacking managers left, right, and centre, Chelsea doing likewise, Tottenham doing likewise. It's only really the two clubs that have held on to their managers, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, that have had good periods in the last few years. So I can admire it. The only question is obviously the one that looms is, can Arteta take them that step further? Is he the guy to, get them to the top now, but sustain it and actually win the silverware? That's what remains to be seen, because he's obviously still inexperienced at that level as well. I like it. I'm for it. I'm for process, and I'm for allowing time. I mean, the 2 8th place finishes probably pained you. I can understand that. But if you can see small improvements as time is going on, I'd be willing to bear with it. So that's kind of where I stand.
What about you, Lewis?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, look, it's difficult. I mean, I'm looking at his stats now. Yeah, I've got his first season. Obviously, he'd done 20 games. He got 1.65 points per match. The season after it went down 1.61 points per match. We actually got worse in his first full season. Increased a little bit last season from 1.88 per match, and then this season it shot right up to 2.43 points per match. That's a huge jump in sort of so. What's going on there? Can you put all that down to the manager? I mean, I don't know if you can put it all down to the manager. You know what I mean? That's a pretty big increase. Something has changed at Arsenal this season, which is allowing them to go from 1.8 points per match to 2.4. That's a massive jump. I think that there's still issues with Arteta, but to be fair, there is going to be issues because he's a new manager. I know people like he's relatively new in terms of it's his third season in charge. But it's whether or not Arsenal feel that they're going to give him the time to continue, because I'm looking at the FA Cup game. I don't know what your thoughts were. I didn't see your reaction on this, but I think he made a mistake.
Fuming.
I think he made a mistake. Bro, I remember, I was driving home from the studio I was listening to Talk Sport, and Arsenal fans ringing up saying, "Oh, Arteta's done a masterclass. He's done it." I was sat there going, listen, we've been as City fans, me and Hugh, we watched City go on these momentum runs, which I think Arsenal at the time was on like a 9 or 10 match unbeaten streak. I say, when you've got that momentum, The one thing that you want to do is keep that momentum going. And regardless of whether it's a Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, you want to make sure you don't lose, because the next day, when you go into training, regardless of what competition it is, them players are no longer going, buzzing, we're now on our 11 match league, or let's keep going. They're going, shit, we got beat last night. We're out the cup. We got beat off City. We've got to deal with them guys. I think I disagree with the Arsenal fans that said it was a master. I think it was a disaster from Mikel Arteta. And I actually think that had Arsenal played their full strength squad that day, their full strength squad team, they might have been able to get a result. So I think that was a major issue. You then kind of got a little bit unlucky with the new manager bounce and all that kind of shit. But again, if you would have beat City or played a proper team, could you have got over that? Maybe. Brentford's a difficult game. But basically, cut a long story short, I think Mikel Arteta is doing a decent job. Can you put this all down to him? Probably not. And he did make, in my opinion, a massive mistake playing a weaker squad against City in the FA Cup, man.
I was so peed off with that game. Yeah, because it was almost like you've just thrown the cup in the bin. And we've already done that with the League Cup this season. And it's like 2 of your 4 chances to win a trophy you've just thrown away. And then our fans are all sitting there going, we've got bigger fish to fry. Okay, well, we better win the league then. And then if we don't win the league, nobody's going to go back and hold them accountable for throwing the cups away. It's, let's go again next season, win the Champions League. And they totally forget about it. And this is why I get the ump at times, because I've seen us win that cup 9-10 times. Now, I've been at Wembley. I've been at Cardiff. Like, I was there when Michael Owen broke my heart at the Michael Owen final. I was there, cried all the way back home. Yeah, and it's like, but then I've been there and seen us beat Chelsea, and I've seen us lose to you in the cup final, the League Cup final in 2017. You know, I've seen the good and the bad of these cups, but I've also want to win these cups every year. Yeah, you are the best team in the country. Yeah, that's not even debatable. You're the best team in the country. You've got the best manager. You've got the best squad, and every year you take them cups seriously, because it builds that winning culture, that winning mentality. If you can win a cup in February, that kicks you on and boosts you up for the rest of the season for the title. You know, and that's why I get the ump with it. It's almost like, it don't matter. Yeah, we've got bigger fish to fry. Well, we better fry one of them then.
And the thing is, you out there about the sort of winning stuff. And Kyle Walker did an interview this week, and he said that when he was at Spurs, he said when they ever was in a big game, they said they couldn't deal with it. They couldn't handle it because they've never been there before. He said he come to City, won a trophy, and then boom, you know what I mean? He understood it. He understood the game. And I think that, okay, you got bigger fish to fry in the Premier League. I understand that, but the problem that you've also got is there's still a massive chance, and I still right now believe City will win the title. If you don't win the title this year, I don't think you'll win it next year, because you're going to have a lot of other teams spending a lot of cash, and Arsenal spend cash too, but you'll also then have to deal with the Champions League. You're not going to win the Champions League next year. So I kind of get why people would say, let's focus on the Premier League, but there's a still very, very good chance Arsenal don't win the Prem. And at least if you win the FA Cup, and then say you win the FA Cup and finish second and qualify for the Champions League, I think you look at that and go, okay, we should have won the league based on the position we're in, but it's a good season. If you don't win the FA Cup, you finish second. I mean, what's second and fourth? I mean, people are going to start partying because you finish second. Like, come on, man. If you,
mate, our fans will have street parties if we qualify for Champions League. Yeah, we don't have to win anything, but they'll just be buzzing back in the Champions League, mate. Yeah, and that's why I get Arsenal fans that just want to stab me to death in my sleep. Yeah, because I call them out. Yeah, we didn't move to the Emirates to go and compete just to get for just to compete in the top 4. We moved to compete with Real Madrid. Yeah, in 2004, our chairman at the time said we're moving to compete with Real Madrid. They're the best in the world. Well, 19 years later, they're still the best in the world, and we ain't nowhere near them. Yeah, and just like when people say, "Oh, I'm impatient," and you know, Rome weren't built in a day. I get all of that. That's cool, but I've been waiting 19 years to win another title. I didn't have a big 5 head back then. I had a good hairline. Do you know what I mean? But let's talk about the game, man. Hugh, you lot are not the free-flowing City of last season. Is that down to Haaland coming in and you trying to change like styles of play, or is that just something else missing at the club right now?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we're not the exact same team, but that was to be expected. I mean, it didn't come as a shock to us when we saw things look slightly different. I mean, when you play with a false 9 for 2 years and you win leagues like that and you score over 100 goals like that, it's going to take some time for players to adapt to a brand new striker coming in who does have all the movements of a traditional striker when they're used to playing with a false 9. That's obviously going to take time, but people are telling me now that Haaland's making City worse. And this is Haaland in his period of adjusting and adapting to Manchester City. We've said this, me and Lewis will know, anybody who comes to the team will always take a couple months, if not a whole season, to get used to it, to understand it. If Haaland's scoring 25 goals by February in his period where he's just getting used to it, used to playing with Kevin De Bruyne, used to playing with our creative players, that's really worrying and really scary. So I think you're starting to see it click a little bit now. I think we got a taste for it against Villa. We've got a taste for it a few times before Christmas. The Villa game, the first half on Sunday, was absolutely huge for me. We saw City with that tenacity, that enthusiasm to get the ball to Haaland. We're getting the ball in behind. We're playing with more aggression. And I think there's a huge amount of contributors to maybe the overall reason as to why we haven't looked as free-flowing. We've had some key players not available at certain times this season at important parts, like our best ball-playing centre-halves, both of them, John Stones and Laporte, haven't been around for whatever reason. Ruben Diaz coming in and offering leadership. It's been a whole team issue, but it's starting to look like it might be coming together now, maybe. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Lewis?
Yeah, pretty much. I think, again, people who say Haaland's made City worse, I just don't see how you can come to that conclusion, man. It's got to be bait, you know what I'm saying? Because he's not. Obviously, you're right. There's going to be a period of adjustment. The reason City are worse this season is because our team is worse this season. We got two of our midfielders want to leave, or one of them definitely wants to leave, and Bernardo Silva. The other one, Gundogan, still hasn't signed a contract, and as it stands, will leave at the end of the season. That doesn't help. As you say, Ruben Diaz, our only real leader in the whole team, has been injured for the last 2-3 months, and he was back against Villa. Look what a difference he made. Laporte, what's going on with him? Clearly, I don't know, Pep don't like him or whatever. He's hardly played, and he's had some injuries. John Stones has been in and out of the injury room. We're dealing with Ake, brilliant defender, really poor at build-up play. You got Kevin De Bruyne, whose form's dipped slightly since the World Cup. You know what I mean? Like, Haaland's been one of our only players that has consistently performed. I think it's just that the thing is with Haaland, which I don't really think people fully understand, is he ain't a Kane, man. He's not Harry Kane, where he's going to drop deep, and even if he doesn't score, he'll have a mint game, dropping deep, putting Son, Kulusevski in, linking up the play. He's a goal scorer. He's a good old-fashioned goal scorer, and a lot of the newer fans don't remember good old-fashioned goal scorers.
He's literally just don't get involved in build-up. Just get in the box, score a goal. He's
a striker from 20 years ago, Lee. That's what he is. But, a lot of the fans nowadays that maybe didn't see those sort of strikers, I mean, pick a mint striker from back in the day. 9 out of 10 of them probably didn't do all this link-up play. It's the modern era that sort of brought that desire into the game. They usually stand in the penalty area and just bang the ball in the back of the net. That's what it was about, and that's what he does. And if you don't give him the chances, which is what we've not been doing, he's not going to do anything. That'll make it worse.
The wild thing is with Haaland as well, he actually has better assists than Kane. He's got more stats than Kane in both goals and assists, so it's not as if he absolutely camped. And we saw that against Villa. The assist he got for Gundogan's goal against Villa was absolutely class. Most strikers who don't have the composure or the footballing IQ would try to maneuver a shot and get some panic shot away in that situation. But he showed the composure to drop a shoulder and go onto his weaker right foot and play a killer ball across the box. But the thing for me is, and I accept it, and I don't know, do all City fans feel the same? And I know that the footballing world refuse to accept it, but this is somewhat of a transition season for Manchester City. And the word transition seems to be forbidden when it comes to Manchester City because we're not allowed. But when you have to adapt your system every couple of years to stay on top the way Pep Guardiola has done for 6-7 years now, you do have to adapt and transition every now and then. And that's why we have stayed at the top and Liverpool didn't, kind of thing. So the fact that we're still within arm's length of Arsenal, we still can win the Premier League in what I consider to be a transition season. Lewis went through the list of players that don't want to be there, dipping in form. We need replacements. We need younger, fresher blood coming in to keep the machine moving. We're doing a pretty good job.
And you got rid of Sterling, Zinchenko, Jesus.
Yeah.
Three players that were starting or playing quite a lot of games last season. I think a lot of people have forgotten that. And the thing is, you've given us 2 of them players, which has made us instantly better. And then if you had Saliba in there that hasn't played for us until this season, that's why we're defensively miles better. Even though he's been very poor recently, he's gone in there and we just look totally different defensively. Gabriel's leveled up in the last 5-6 weeks. Ben White's been brilliant at right back. Shocking at centre back, but at right back he's been unreal until recently. And then obviously Zinchenko on the left. And it's interesting because you've not been that great, but if you win, you're above us.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing, and that's why I've been kind of quietly confident over the last couple of weeks, because I remember a couple of weeks ago you'd played, I think you'd drawn 2 games and lost 1, right? And City had I can't remember City's record, but it was a lot worse, but we was only 5 points behind you at the time. I remember looking at it, and people was gassing Arsenal up. I remember saying, listen, everyone's saying Arsenal are the best team in the country, which at the point they were. They're playing this mega football and they're absolutely mint, and City are crap and they're inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. I was sat there going, everything you're saying is right. We're 5 points behind. You know what I mean? Like, the way I saw it is Arsenal were unlikely to go through the whole of the second season, the whole second part of the season, and just match the record that they'd done in the first half of the season, which was two draws and 1 loss. I was betting there, that Arsenal in the second half of the season would lose more than 1 and would draw more than 2. Therefore, the second half of the season would be worse than the first. I was looking at City one going, I think ours was 3 draws and 3 losses. Well, are City going to improve on that? Stay the same. Well, I think City will improve on 3 draws and 3 losses in the second half of the season. Okay, well, in that case, City going to, go up on the points. Yeah, exactly. It's just how much do we do that? So, I think who's right, man. We've had like an inconsistent season, but the fact, and like you say, you just said at the end, the fact that we can go top of the table on Wednesday. I know you got a game in hand, but rather have the points on the board is the old saying. Is just insane, man.
Well, it's the old saying, unless you're an Arsenal fan.
Unless you're
Last
My
season,
whole
it was
thing
games
was
in hand, and then
in
it
the
was
first half of the
points on
season.
board.
My whole thing in the first half of the season was, while we were inconsistent and we weren't playing great, was just stay within arm's length of Arsenal. Just don't let them run away. Don't let them get so far clear that you can't catch them, because we know, me and Lewis from experience, and you being an older Arsenal fan, you'll know that when it gets to those last 5, 10, 15 games and the pressure's really on and you're playing teams that every point they can win, they're going to fight you for. The pressure is on, and we've been there and done that, and you haven't. So I've been banking on we'll get to that stage of the season and Arsenal will probably drop more points. It's just a matter of, can we catch them while they're dropping those points? Because people are talking nonstop right now about City will go on this 10, 15 game run. I don't believe that for a second. I don't. I believe we will drop more points this season, but I also think Arsenal will as well. So I'm happy to be at this stage of the season now with a chance, which is wild, like Lewis said, to go top of the league on Wednesday, considering the start of the season we've both had. It's a good thing for me.
100%. Listen, this game's going to be mad. It's going to be cagey for sure. Very quickly before we move on to that game, you obviously were linked with Harry Kane. Are you happy you got Haaland, or do you still think Kane would have fitted in better?
I think Kane would have banged. He would have absolutely banged. Like I think we've come out great from the situation getting Erling Haaland. He's a longer term player, and he's someone Pep can work with. And we know Haaland's class. I think we'd be wrong to say that Kane wouldn't be class as well, Lewis. Like, I think we possibly would have won the Champions League last year with Harry Kane in the team. I think he would have 2 Premier League medals, at least 1 Premier League medal by now, 2. He would have been a success. He's like, when people talk about a Pep player, Kane is a Pep player. He has all the abilities to drop deep and link up play, and he'll score the goals. I think Pep would love to implement some of that into Erling Haaland as well.
Yeah. I agree. I think Kane would have smashed it. Like, he's such a good footballer, and an elite goal scorer. I think he would have been perfect for you lot. And I'm shocked you just didn't go all in. But listen, Haaland's not a bad backup, is he? Is he scored 31 goals so far?
31 goals.
31,
That's mad. That is crazy.
And the difficult thing is, Lee, you say go all in. City offered what, 100, 110, something around that sort of mark. Like, if you knew that you could get Erling Haaland for 55 million the season after, it does then become a bit difficult to justify spending 130, 140, 150, whatever Levy wanted.
Somebody that's a lot older as well.
Exactly. Or you can go. You wait 1 year. You know what I mean? And we've seen what Pep Guardiola can do. You don't need Harry Kane to win the league, as proved last season. Or you wait 1 year and get Erling Haaland, the next up and coming absolute monster Galactico signing, for less than half the price. I agree with the point. I think Kane would have maybe been a better fit for the team. But when you look at the numbers involved, and again, this is where it comes down to, where do you spend your money? You know what I mean? You got to spend your money right. I think City looked at it and went, we can't really justify that.
Yeah, it's a lot of dough in it, and I think he's going to be 30 this summer. So and he's never been blessed with pace. He's like a dump truck at times, but he's such a good footballer, man. Such a good footballer. I'm gutted he's at that lot, because they don't deserve a striker like that, man. They're fucking shit, and they are so crap.
No, they keep getting one over us, though. We can't go to their place and get a goal for life or death.
Why is that, man? You haven't even scored a goal at their ground.
Lee, man, it's hoodoo. It's hoodoo, and hoodoo is something I'm clinging on to right now a little bit, because you haven't been in the league since 2015, so they're a bit of a hoodoo.
They're shit. It's mad. We have this with Southampton. Yeah, like Southampton are a bit of a bogey team, and Brighton until this season. Yeah, and then we went and took them apart. But yeah, Southampton and Brighton have always been a little bit like that with us, home and away. But It's always a shit team, isn't it? It's never a decent team. But obviously we have got the game. You can go top. If we win, I think we strolled onto a title. I can't lie. I think that would just psychologically just knock you right back off your pedestal and put you in the mud. If you win, then I'll probably go the other way as well and say that you lot are just run off with it. Yeah, because I think that would be us 4 games without a win. Villa away 12:30 on Saturday next against our former manager who beat us last time he played against us. With a worse team, Villarreal. And I think that I've been looking at some of our players and performances. And like I said this to my mate last night. I said, we look knackered. Like, we look miles off the pace. Like, Everton were all over us. Brentford all over us. Like, you lot weren't all over us, but you were just like kind of just, yeah, all right, just stay there. When we want to score, we'll score kind of thing. And I don't see how we can raise that level so high to beat you. I don't think we're beating you. But if we do, I think we do go on and win it.
Well, it's funny you say that, because he's Arteta's kind of doing the Klopp tactics in it, where like Klopp just played the same game every single game when they won the title, didn't get no injuries. Obviously, you've had an injury to Jesus. Obviously, somehow Liverpool managed to put out the same team and never seemingly dropped their intensity. They just kept on going game after game after game. Whereas City don't do that. We've never done that. We've always rotated players, which is maybe why we've done so good in the sort of last 10 games. As sort of Hugh mentioned before, we always those last 10 games are so high pressure, and City have a really, really good record of just going through them last 10 games, win. And maybe it's because City do rotate and Arsenal haven't really rotated this season. Every time we can pretty much back the team that he's going to start. No chance of doing that with City, and you could do that with Liverpool. On the whole, it's funny if Arsenal beat City, I'm not there saying league's over. I still think we've got a great chance of winning that league. It'll be 9 points with the game in hand if you win that. We've still got a player. We could pull it down to 6. And again, when it comes down to those last 10 games, when the pressure is really on, and every single Arsenal fan league going, we're going to win it, we're going to win it. And those players have got to go out there with that pressure on the shoulders. I'm not saying that they will drop points, but it's very, very difficult to hold. And City have done this many times over recent years. So
and not many of our players have won a title in their career. And ironically, the one that's won treble sits on the bench. It's crazy, isn't it? Tierney was winning everything in Scotland. They can't get a game at Arsenal at the minute. Yeah, but yeah, it's not the title decider. Like, I've seen a lot of people bigging this up as it's the title decider. There's still too many games to go, man. Like, there's no way it's a decider, but it does psychologically dent the other team. Whoever wins, a draw is no good for us, really, because if we get a draw, 4 points ahead? No, it'd be 3 points ahead still. Of course it will. Yeah, stay free. As soon as we lose one more game, bang, you're on us. Yeah, and I think the thing is, when I've seen Pep doing his press conference the other day, and I see how your fans were before the Villa game and how you played in that first half especially, you look angry, man. You look like you're up for it, and we haven't looked up for it for the last 3 games. Yeah, and if we come out and start pissing around like we did against Brentford, you'll be out of sight after half an hour. Yeah, you've got too many good players for us to keep an eye on. I mean, De Bruyne was quality in the first half the other day. You got Mahrez flying at the minute. Grealish has been brilliant. Yeah, like he's been brilliant the last couple of games, especially. Like, ruined Tottenham, ruined Villa. Nearly scored a fucking goal of the season in that game as well, didn't he? And that volley. That would have been mad. But yeah, he's going to be up against Ben White, and pray for Ben White. That guy's been all over the shop in the last 5 games. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a red card in this game tomorrow.
Yeah, and obviously Hugh's going to the games, in it. You know what I mean? And you could probably say more about. I don't know. Was you at the Villa game, Hugh? I can't remember. Was you at that game?
Nah, the money doesn't stretch that far. I was at Tottenham the week before, United the week before, Chelsea. I can't fund it all.
No.
You live in Ireland, didn't you? And you fly over every game or every other game.
Yeah, I go. I'd say I go a couple of times a month, Lewis.
Yeah. But now you're right, Lee, man.
That's dedication, that, man. I'm saying, because it's not fucking cheap. It really,
no, it's not.
I know you're a lot cheaper for tickets than we are, but it's still not cheap. Nowhere near.
It's all the accommodation, man. All the hotels and flights they add up. But I love it, man. I live for it. I absolutely love going to it, and I love when I see things like I saw before the Villa game. The fans showing that anger, and if people are laughing and saying, "Oh, City are trying to make this narrative us versus the world." Like, well, if it works for us, I'm happy. If this us versus the world thing works for us, it is fucking us versus the world. I'm happy.
If you end up winning the league, who cares?
Yeah,
Now,
man. The fans showed an anger. The Pep showed an anger. The players showed an anger. If this is what we needed to kickstart, I'm perfectly happy with it. So that's just it, really.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Yeah, we've seen this at the Emirates with the Ashburton Army, like, and everyone's been mugging that off. Oh yeah, they think they're ultras and all of that. It's nothing to do with that. The Emirates has been a fucking library since we got there. No soul, nothing. It's just been dead. Yeah, fair play to them lads. They've actually made an atmosphere in the stadium. Yeah, now
Lee, would you reckon that this is? I've seen some Arsenal fans suggesting that this is the biggest game in the Emirates since it opened.
I watched Terry Fleur's video earlier. There was a comment in there, and I replied to it because he said exactly the same. We had a Champions League semi-final against Man United in 2008 at the Emirates. Europa League semi-final against Villarreal. You know, that Man United game, that was when they had Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney, and absolutely fucking ruined us.
I think it's too early, isn't it? I think if it was further on in the season, say there was like 7 games to go or something.
If this was the reverse fixture. Yeah, but the other way, like, and it was at the Emirates, because we play you right near the end of the season, I think, didn't we? April.
Yeah. April.
Fucking, that's going to be mad. If we're still there and thereabouts, that's going to be insane. That game.
It's up there though. It'll certainly be up there in the sort of Emirates games and that. But like I say, to get that number 1 spot, it probably needed to be towards.
And I think the Leicester game, when we beat Leicester in the last minute and Danny Welbeck scored against them the season they won the league. Yeah, I remember that. I was in Tenerife. I was hammered. Yeah, I've got to the bar and I'm sat in this bar and like bar restaurant, and I was sat with the TV on, and then I nearly fell off the chair. I was fucking going mad. I turned around and the restaurant was rammed full of people. I had to stumble all the way back to the hotel. I was fine, but that game was big because that was kind of title run that season as well, and we were top for most of that season and didn't win it. And then if everyone laughs at Tottenham and says they bottled a two-horse race, they didn't. They were never top. Like, we were top for most of it. Yeah, and then Leicester just went, see you later. And then same again this time around. If we don't win the league, I see earlier on in the season, this is the most points after in our history after X amount of games and blah blah blah, and we'd be the only team to have that many points and not win the league. But listen, it's the history of Arsenal, mate. The same as it is the history of Tottenham. Tottenham don't win fuck all. Arsenal bottle everything. So I was confident after the Man U game. I thought, yeah, that's it. I think we'll win it. But seeing us in the last couple of games, sorry, it was 2009, not 2008, Man United. Last couple of games, I'm sitting there thinking, as soon as there's a little bit of pressure on and we become favourites and now we're expected to go and do it, all of a sudden, Odegaard disappears. Ben White plays crap. Martinelli plays crap. Saliba gets bullied. We lose a game, draw a game. And that's Arsenal, man. Every time the pressure's on, we fold. Look at last season. We went to Newcastle away. All we had to do is get a point. Yeah, and folded. Same against Tottenham last season.
And I think that's why everyone's sort of been waiting for this Arsenal crumble. I mean, I've been saying it all season. You know what I mean? And for the Arsenal fans in the chat, we're not saying that as like as a sort of roast. We're not saying it to try and insult your club. It's just that is what Arsenal have done recently. You know, you did it last year. How you didn't finish top 4, that was shocking. You should have got in the top 4. So no one's saying it because they're disrespecting your club. They're just saying it. It's the same. Put it in inverse. Look at City. Everyone's expecting City to click into gear and go on a 10, 15 match winning streak. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Everyone just reverts to norm. Our Arsenal going to revert to the norm, which is recently bottling shit. You know what I mean? That's what people are waiting for. You've not won the last 3 games. If you don't win tomorrow night, that'll be 4 matches without a win. People will then start saying, "Oh, Arsenal are doing the crumble," and then we
go away to Aston Villa. We don't like 12:30 kickoffs anyway. We normally lose them, and we're up against our former manager.
And we got.
And they won't play as crap as they did against you. That's for sure, because he's going to want to beat us. Yeah, because of what happened with him at our football club.
We got Forest at 3 p.m. Imagine if you drop points in that game, and we could go to Forest. You know, going clear. We could go 3 points clear in that game, even with your game in hand.
At one point, we was 7 points clear. And it should have been more because we drew that game against Newcastle. We should have won that game. I could not believe he didn't make any subs until right near the end. Yeah, and that's why I'm still on the. I don't really 100% back this manager, man. He does weird stuff in games, like random substitutions.
That's Pep, isn't it, Hugh?
He's learned from Pep, man. He's learned from Pep.
Back on. It's like, why are you bringing a right back on when we need a goal, mate? It's taking a right back off to bring another one on.
Get used to it, man.
You,
This
man,
is the Pep.
you sound like us over the last 7 years. You sound like us over the last 7 years. Why is he bringing him on? We don't need him.
At some point, you'll just start accepting that he does weird shit, man. You know what I mean? Like not playing a centre defensive mid in a Champions League final or playing Bernardo Silva at left back. Like, at some point, bro, your mind will just say, "Oh, he's doing that weird shit," and I ain't gonna question it. But the thing is with Pep, he's won trophies, so you can kind of give him the leeway.
That's the thing. When you've got so many trophies in the bag, it don't matter. If Pep was the Arsenal manager, mate, and done what he's done for City, I'd just be like, "You're God, mate. You can do whatever you want. I don't care if he plays a goalkeeper up front." Literally. But listen, we are going to wrap this up, people. I am on with Terry Flewers at 3:30, and then I'm back on here at 5 with Rants, and then I'm going out for a nice steak, a nice T-bone steak, which should be nice. Best steakhouse in the world, mate. Trust me, round the corner from where I live. Galician steak is the best steak. But yes, I will be back again with Terry. What you got coming up, Lewis, on your channel?
Yo, I'm going to go live like at 2 o'clock, 5 minutes. We got the press conference reaction, obviously, ahead of the game tomorrow. So it's going to be a big one. And then tonight, we got the main preview, man. So yeah, that's what's going on. City Extra.
The link is in the title, people. Make sure you show some love to Lewis. What about you, Hugh, on yours?
Yeah, all the same kind of stuff. Previews, reviews, just talking about what's going on in the world of Manchester City. FFP, I've become a solicitor now in recent weeks, so I'm learning up my legals, transfers, all that stuff, man. You'll see me on other shows like the Big Six and other channels here and there. But listen, thanks for having us on, and big up the chat as well.
No, you're welcome, man. Make sure you sub to both the guys. The link's in the title, people. And yeah, I'll be back at 3:30 on Terry's show. That always gets spicy, and his chat's always full of wrong. And so, yeah, that should be good. Make sure you come and check it out for all the little 13-year-old virgins in the chat that don't like me. Oh, you're so toxic. Okay, mate. On that bombshell, we're out. Oh, very quickly, score predictions. We didn't do them. Score predictions.
I will go 2-1 City.
I'm saying 3-1 City.
I'm going to stick with 2-0 City.
There we go. We're out of here, people. Laters.